Pescama tragedy, which claimed the lives of 11 crew members, is one of the darkest maritime crimes in recent memory. Though the legal battle concluded with convictions and sentences, the story didn't end with the courtroom. The ramifications of the event reached far beyond the individuals involved. The tragedy shook not only the fishing industry, but also served as a wake-up call to governments, organizations, and the world at large about the hidden dangers of exploitation, abuse, and human rights violations in global industries. The global response, a wake-up call for maritime industry. One. News of the Pescama tragedy hit the international headlines. It was met with shock and outrage. The fishing industry, particularly in Asia, had long been plagued by allegations of exploitation and labor abuse, but nothing quite like this had ever come to light. The scale of the violence, the brutal nature of the killings, and the fact that they were carried out by the victims themselves created an international outcry. Governments, labor unions, and human rights organizations were forced to take a long, hard look at the practices within the fishing industry. Workers in these industries, often coming from impoverished backgrounds, were regularly subjected to forced labor, inhumane working conditions, long hours, and, as seen with the Pescama crew, physical violence. For years, these abuses had flown under the radar, hidden behind the remoteness of fishing vessels and isolated labor camps. The Pescama incident created a moment of reckoning, where countries across the globe, especially in Southeast Asia and other fishing hubs, could no longer ignore the growing pressure for reform. International labor organizations began calling for stronger regulation of the fishing industry and better enforcement of existing laws. The fishing industry, often governed by complex networks of supply chains, subcontractors, and international shipping companies, proved difficult to regulate. But the tragic deaths aboard the Pescama highlighted how essential it was to ensure accountability at every level. In response to the outcry, global stakeholders began to push for legislation that would enforce stricter labor protections for seafarers, many of whom were at risk of similar abuse. While progress has been made, the story of the Pescama tragedy serves as a constant reminder that the fight for workers' rights, especially in maritime industries, is far from over. The survivors, the heavy price of survival for the survivors of the Pescama tragedy. The journey after the killings was filled with complexities. They had acted out of desperation and anger, but in the aftermath, they were faced with the emotional burden of their actions.